The January transfer window has not yet opened, but Nottingham Forest have already drawn a clear line in the sand with their early pursuit of 27-year-old Ghanaian centre-back Jerome Opoku. What began as internal scouting discussions has now escalated into a full-scale Premier League tug-of-war. With Fulham re-entering the picture at the exact moment Forest believed they had stolen a march. The race is no longer theoretical, it is active, strategic, and unfolding with an intensity that reflects just how highly rated the Istanbul Başakşehir defender has become across Europe. Opoku, who joined Başakşehir in July 2024 on a contract running until 2027, has quietly built a reputation as one of the most complete centre-backs in the Turkish Super Lig. His combination of size, mobility, Valkyrie and confidence, and increasingly polished decision-making has not gone unnoticed. Forest's recruitment analysts flagged him early in the autumn as a potential solution to the club's defensive inconsistencies. The numbers reinforced the eye test: strong, dual success, mature positioning, aerial dominance, and an ability to step out of the defensive line with purpose rather than panic. Behind the scenes, Nottingham Forest acted quickly. Discussions began with Başakşehir, exploratory contacts were made, and the club's recruitment department laid out a clear plan for how Opoku could integrate into the Premier League's high-speed defensive demands. What they did not anticipate was how quickly rival interest would emerge, and from a familiar face, Fulham, the club where Opoku spent key years of his youth development, have entered the race with ambition and timing that threatens to complicate Forest's early advantage. They see the 27-year-old as a low-cost, high-return central defender who fits the club's tactical structure while offering Premier League adaptability. Fulham's sporting department has followed his progress since his move to Turkey, noting his growth in maturity and his heightened aggressiveness, qualities they believe could translate effectively into the English game. For Nottingham Forest, this transfer is not simply about adding another centre-back. It is a strategic investment. The club's defensive reliability has wavered under pressure, and the need for a durable, physically commanding defender has become more urgent with each fixture. Forest want a centre-back who is entering his prime, who understands the dynamics of top-level football, and who can offer both defensive security and composure under the Premier League spotlight. Opoku fits that brief almost perfectly. His rise has been steady rather than explosive, but that consistency is exactly what clubs like Forest and Fulham are now valuing. His 9 appearances for the Ghana national team, including a goal scored during his early international outings, have further elevated his status. Each performance added evidence of a defender who is evolving at the right time, and in the right direction. Calm when required, aggressive when necessary, and increasingly vocal as a leader. At Başakşehir, Opoku has appeared in Super League matches this season. His club values him highly, and despite the modest annual salary he earns compared to the Premier League, they are not expected to allow him to leave without a significant proposal. With a valuation centered around €5 million, Başakşehir have positioned themselves in a strong negotiating position, knowing that Premier League clubs can typically stretch budgets if they believe the player fills a major need. The evolving situation has created momentum. Nottingham Forest's interest is concrete and intentional. Fulham's renewed push has raised the stakes. Başakşehir, aware that 2 English clubs are preparing to advance the negotiation cycle, are now expected to examine both projected offers carefully. As the January transfer window approaches, all 3 clubs are operating with increasing urgency. Forest intend to reinforce their squad early in the window to avoid mid-season instability. Fulham, meanwhile, are uncertain how their defensive depth will hold through the winter and see Opoku as an intelligent acquisition who could transition smoothly into their system. While no official bids have been lodged yet, both English clubs are moving rapidly through the preliminary stages that typically precede a formal proposal. Data analysis, internal green lighting, and projected wage models are being finalized. Both sides view Opoku's low salary in Turkey as advantageous, making a Premier League wage package comparatively easy to construct. As discussions continue, Başakşehir remain firm but realistic. They know Opoku's Premier League potential is turning into Premier League demand, and once that happens, the market tends to accelerate. As the transfer window draws close, Nottingham Forest and Fulham have shifted from early reconnaissance into structured planning. Both clubs recognize the value in completing business early in January, especially for a defensive reinforcement who could immediately influence a struggling back line. For Forest, the pursuit of Jerome Opoku has become a priority operation threaded through scouting, analytics, and managerial objectives. Fulham, eager not to lose pace or strategic advantage, have quietly constructed their own roadmap designed to bring the Ghanaian centre-back back to London. Inside Nottingham Forest, the recruitment structure has approached Opoku's profile in a methodical way. The club's analysts have compiled minute-by-minute breakdowns of his Super League performances, tracking defensive sequences, acceleration and recovery speed, ball progression metrics, and his decision-making under different forms of pressure. The data has shown consistency. Opoku is not merely a physically strong center-back. He is one who has grown in confidence, composure, and tactical intelligence. He chooses his moments to step into midfield, reads second ball patterns, and has shown improved discipline in avoiding unnecessary risks. This aligns with Forest's current defensive needs. Their season has revealed vulnerabilities, lapses in marking, transitions that expose defensive gaps, and moments where composure is missing at critical junctures. Forest believe Opoku's profile directly fits those weaknesses. The club sees a player who can play on either side of a defensive pairing, offer height and strength against aerial threats, and introduce calmness when building from the back. In short, they see Opoku as a defender who solves problems rather than adds complications. Fulham, however, see something slightly different. For them, the move is not only about defensive reinforcement but also about opportunity. Jerome Opoku began his development under Fulham's academy umbrella, and while he did not make an extended breakthrough into their first team, the foundations he built there have become valuable in hindsight. Fulham's recruitment department view a return as strategically sound. The player knows English football, carries Premier League potential, and is available for a fee that fits comfortably within their financial planning. Fulham also have a system that demands center-backs who can operate in space, control wide areas when the fullbacks advance, and manage high defensive lines without losing structure. Opoku's Super League performances have shown an ability to cope with exactly that kind of responsibility. His pace over short distances and improving tactical reading allow him to remain stable in defensive confrontations. Fulham's focus is not just on ability, it is on suitability. They believe that Opoku's style naturally blends with the demands of Marco Silva's defensive setups. Where both clubs converge is in their recognition of Opoku's career stage. At 27 years old, he is entering his prime as a center-back, a period in which defenders typically reach tactical maturity, physical peak, and emotional steadiness. This matters in the Premier League, where defenders are often tested at extremes. Forest and Fulham see a player who is no longer a prospect but not yet at the back end of his career. This timing is part of what has accelerated interest from both sides. Istanbul Başakşehir, for their part, are navigating this rising interest with measured restraint. The club is aware that Premier League attention often inflates market value quickly, and they are studying the situation with caution. Opoku's contract until 2027 provides them leverage. There is no urgency to sell, and they are not under financial pressure to offload the defender. That gives them freedom, the freedom to wait for the right offer, to compare Premier League proposals, and to weigh the sporting benefits of retaining Opoku for the remainder of the season. Başakşehir's stance is firm but realistic. They know that once two English clubs officially engage, the negotiation dynamic shifts. The Super League club will aim to maximize value while ensuring they do not lose a key defensive figure without sufficient compensation. The figure of €5 million remains central to discussions, but Başakşehir are expected to push for a slightly higher figure if both Forest and Fulham submit formal offers. Clubs in Turkey often take advantage of Premier League buying power, and this scenario is unlikely to be different. Behind the scenes, preparation has intensified. Nottingham Forest are finalizing internal approval stages, which involve aligning financial structure, squad planning, and the manager's requirements. Fulham, simultaneously, are constructing a January proposal that suits their budget while still being competitive. Neither club wants to overpay, but both understand that hesitation could shift the balance of the transfer. One of the key elements in this developing battle is timing. Forest want an early January completion, ideally within the first 2 weeks of the window. Fulham remain flexible but are prepared to match Forest's pace. Başakşehir, too, will consider timeline influence. Early offers give the Turkish club more time to identify replacements, while late offers limit their options. This time pressure could push negotiations into a fast-moving phase once the first bid is submitted. Opoku himself is watching the developments with professional focus. As a player with 9 Ghana caps, he has an awareness of how Premier League exposure could influence his national team prospects. With competitions approaching and Ghana continuing to refine their squad, a defender playing in England's top tier naturally becomes more visible. Opoku's performances in the Super League have been valuable, but the Premier League's global coverage presents an elevated platform, as both clubs angle for position. The competitiveness of this transfer is beginning to resemble a tactical contest in its own right. Behind the calm public facade, internal documents, scouting reports, and strategic assessments are shaping the next weeks of negotiation. While nothing has been finalized, the direction is clear. Forest and Fulham are preparing to go head-to-head, and Başakşehir hold a player whose stock is rising at exactly the moment. English clubs are seeking intelligent mid-season reinforcements. As January approaches, the transfer pursuit of Jerome Opoku is shaping into one of the most quietly intense negotiations of the winter window. Neither Nottingham Forest nor Fulham have made public declarations, but internally, both clubs are preparing for the decisive stages. With their scouting completed, strategic plans drawn, and financial margins defined, the next step is execution. And in Premier League transfers, execution is where the race truly begins. For Nottingham Forest, the objective is simple: reinforce the defensive structure before the season enters its most demanding phase. The Premier League's congested schedule after January makes stability in the back line a non-negotiable requirement. Forest have recognized that relying on reactive defending is not sustainable, and a player like Opoku represents controlled aggression and defensive balance. His profile fits the type of defender who can withstand pressure from direct attackers, read danger early, and contribute to the slower, more measured possession phases that Forest have tried to implement. Fulham's strategy, however, is slightly different. Their pursuit of Opoku is rooted in squad evolution. They are seeking long-term value in a defender who can grow within their system while providing immediate cover. The club's defensive depth, while competent, has shown signs of vulnerability, particularly when injuries or suspensions stretch the squad. Fulham's recruitment team is pushing for a defender who can rotate seamlessly with the existing center-back options, allowing tactical flexibility without sacrificing structural integrity. Opoku's versatility and improved reading of the game make him an appealing match for these needs. As both clubs prepare their proposals, Başakşehir are monitoring the situation with calculated patience. They recognize that Premier League buyers move through a predictable pattern: informal contact, internal approval, formal proposal, negotiation over structure, and final agreement. Başakşehir are currently in the evaluation and leverage stage. Their intention is to allow interest to build before committing to any negotiation pathway. With Opoku under contract until 2027, the Turkish club know that they hold the advantage. They do not need to sell in January unless the right offer arrives. This approach places pressure on both Forest and Fulham to demonstrate their intent through meaningful proposals rather than exploratory conversations. Premier League clubs often begin with structured offers that include fixed fees, achievable bonuses, and add-ons tied to appearances or team performance. Başakşehir will seek clarity on the guaranteed portion of any deal before considering additional details. For the Turkish side, guaranteed money represents security. Add-ons represent ambition but not certainty. Forest are expected to approach the negotiation with an offer that reflects a balance of budget realism and competitive pressure. Their internal assessments suggest Opoku's value aligns with the €5 million mark, but the club may stretch beyond that figure if they believe Fulham's involvement could shift the dynamic. Fulham, similarly, are preparing an offer that respects Başakşehir's stance without inflating the fee unnecessarily. Their familiarity with the player's background may influence their willingness to negotiate more flexibly. While the financial numbers form one part of the equation, the sporting project forms another. Forest will highlight immediate playing opportunities, a Premier League platform, and a clear plan for integrating Opoku into the squad. Fulham will emphasize their tactical structure, developmental stability, and the potential to become a long-term figure in their defensive unit. Both clubs can offer compelling football environments, and the choice may ultimately come down to the clarity of the plan presented to the player and his representatives. The personal ambition of Jerome Opoku adds another dimension. Like many players reaching the peak of their careers, he will be weighing factors such as playing time, development, visibility in the Ghana national team setup, and the chance to test himself against elite Premier League forwards. His recent performances for Ghana have shown a defender with increasing confidence and an expanding tactical range. A move to England would not only elevate his club profile but also establish his position as a reliable international defender in a competitive national team pool. As the situation progresses, timing becomes increasingly influential. An early January bid could signal determination and may pressure Başakşehir into serious dialogue. A delayed offer risks complications, especially if other clubs, even outside England, identify Opoku as a viable target. European teams in need of mid-season defensive reinforcements could enter the picture. German, French, or Belgian clubs often activate late within the window, searching for undervalued talent with high physical ceilings. Başakşehir are aware of this possibility and may use the looming window timeline to their advantage. In the end, the outcome will likely be shaped by clarity of intent. Forest and Fulham are both financially capable of meeting Başakşehir's demands, but the decision will hinge on which club moves with the most conviction. Premier League transfers often reward urgency. The club that acts first, presents a clear role, and structures a compelling offer typically wins the race. If Nottingham Forest formalize their interest early and with purpose, they could establish themselves as frontrunners. If Fulham match that decisiveness, the race becomes tightly contested. As negotiations inch toward critical stages, the transfer becomes more than a search for defensive reinforcement. It becomes a reflection of strategic planning, club identity, and the ability to recognize opportunity in a competitive market. Opoku has attracted attention at precisely the moment when clubs are searching for mid-season stability and value. His performances in the Super League have aligned with Premier League tactical needs. His age matches the timeline of clubs trying to build stronger defensive cores. Whether Nottingham Forest or Fulham make the decisive move first, one detail is now certain. Jerome Opoku has become one of the most keenly watched defensive targets of the January transfer window. The next steps: formal bids, negotiations with Başakşehir, and the player's evaluation of each project will determine where he ultimately continues his career. Both clubs have laid their groundwork. The final act of this developing battle is now ready to unfold.